You're live now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anita Davis, Youngstown 6th Ward City Council and chairperson of the Safety Committee meeting. And this is the January meeting of the Youngstown City Council Safety Committee meeting. Today's date is January the 28th, 2021, and the time is 3:02 p.m. And present today are committee members, Vice Chair Jimmy Hughes and committee member Basha Adamzak. Also present are Councilwoman Lauren McNally, Councilman Julius Oliver, Police Chief Carl Davis, Attorney Dana Lance from the Law Department, Rick Deeks, our IT guy, and Jennifer Ossinger, Assistant City Clerk. Is this Assistant, Jennifer, or is it Deputy?
It's assistant.
Assistant City Clerk. I think I got everybody correct. Okay. Okay, with the chairperson's roll call out the way. We're going to item number 2, new business. And like I said, today we have with us our new police chief, Chief Carl Davis of the Youngstown Police Department. And I'm going to turn a lot of this over to him. And we're going to start with Chief, give us an update on the staffing levels and diversity training, community engagement, the SERVE program, Departmental Transparency, and body cameras. So Chief, take it from here.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say to all of the council members present today, I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. I'd just like to point out some of the things, the agenda that I have in place concerning SERVE. William Guy Burney is the coordinator of that organization, and will be working closely with SERVE to link the police department, build a closer relationship between the police department and community. I've already made some moves concerning this. I brought along Officer Malik Mastella. He's here, he's present with us today. He will serve as the liaison to Guy Burney and his program. He will be working closely with the schools and with young adults. We're going to be targeting demographic of ages between 19 and 22 years old, and will be involved with the bringing back the midnight basketball. That age group is important because a lot of our homicides that have taken place, the victims and the persons committing these crimes are in that demographic. There have been studies done in the past that have shown programs like this can be effective and does reduce crime. So this is one thing that I've talked to the mayor about, and we want to get this program off the ground and going. Also, in terms of body cameras, I've transferred Detective Sergeant Jose Morales Jr. to our Internal Affairs Division, and he'll be handling the rolling out of the body cameras. He's possesses some extraordinary computer skills and will be involved in that process, and he'll also speak to that this evening. Anything else, Anita? I mean, Councilwoman Davis?
Yeah, let's go into some more details. That's a nice little outline, but let's start with, you talked about SERVE, like go into more details as to what you plan SERVE to be doing.
All right. Here's what we've done, and actually, Officer Mastella already has has an office up on the 3rd floor of City Hall. We'll be physically moving the SERVE program closer to our juvenile division, our family services unit.
Good.
He'll also be linked with the department social worker that we have here in the Youngstown Police Department. Some of those positions I felt like have not been used like they probably could have, but we're going to be linking SERVE with one of our licensed social workers. And again, Officer Mostella will work to implement new programs such as the midnight basketball, school educational pieces on how to interact with police when you're stopped by the police. We'll also be focusing on our chaplaincy corps. Mike Anderson will now, at one time I handled that as a liaison for our police chaplains, but Mike Anderson will take that position now. And we'll also be, we have three social workers in our chaplaincy corps, and he'll be working close with them. We're also going to have a stronger social media presence. We'll be holding Facebook Live feeds with different divisions of the police department on a regular basis, scheduling question and answer sessions with different departmental personnel to give the public a closer look at how we conduct business on a day-to-day basis. We'll be expanding our social media footprint through multiple social media platforms. We'll also be engaging in innovative community policing strategies, acknowledging and discussing challenges that face the community. We'll be transparent and accountable and taking steps to reduce bias and improve cultural competency and maintaining focus on collaboration and visibility in the community. And also promoting internal diversity and ensuring professional growth opportunities in the police department.
Chief,
Yes.
you remember Captain Kane?
Yes, I do. I work for Captain.
Okay, so we're gonna slide past the Captain Kane comment that I would make. So, let's go back to what you were, and I'm gonna toss it over to my other members of council and let them ask any questions or seek any clarification. I'll go with them first to the committee and then to other members of council. Committee members, anyone with a question or comment so far?
I would, to the chair,
Councilman Hughes?
yes. I would comment on a couple of things. One, you don't lay out any indication that you solicit information from the public or from council or from anyone as to these things that you're doing. You know, I would think that, you know, hearing what we had to say, or maybe some ideas from us or from the community as direction to go and activities to perform would be a step in there some kind of way, you know, concerns or not, you know. I'm just saying, I didn't hear anything about what went on to get you to where you're at now with midnight basketball, you know, sort of stuff. You know, I'm just saying that it may not be that important, you know, in a sense, but to me, I think it is that we've had concerns all along, those of us on council, you know, about the direction that the city was going, but it don't appear that, leastwise, from what I can understand from myself personally or my colleagues, that we had no input in all of this, or no, hey, how's it going? You know, you think I should look out the window today? any of that, no, I don't see it. But, and then the public as well, you know, I would think that it might have been some direction that we could have solicited through surveys or phone calls or groups in the public as to what's going on and you know, what they would like to see more involved of our police department, you know, in the direction they were going. I just make those comments, and at the end of the day, it don't really matter. But that's what I just want to make.
Councilman Davis, through the chair.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. Jimmy basically took the words out of my mouth. My question, not even so much to you, Chief Davis, because I know you're just getting your feet wet, but I guess it would be to the mayor. How did you guys actually come up with your plan of action as far as everything you have planned, specifically without, I mean, I don't know who you guys talked to. I know I wasn't addressed about any of this, but without getting the public's input, how did you come up with your specific plans and specific targeted areas where you'll reduce crime or affect the community? Did you guys send out letters? Did you talk to block watch captains, stakeholders, other council members, former police chiefs? How did you guys come up with this, or was this just an internal circumvention of council as usual?
Chief,
Through the chair.
Mayor.
If I could, this is definitely if we all could sit here and talk about the needs and assessments of the community was one, but ironically enough, this body met prior to the chief having an opportunity to actually get around to the community. But some of this was birthed out of hearing from the community and their needs and their cries for what they wanted in the community. So it was not necessarily just one-sided. The midnight basketball was brought to us, and just the calls that I get from all of your wards about things that they like to see or issues that happen in their ward. So, but there's been meetings that we've already scheduled for each member of city council, where there will be conversations with the chief. He hasn't been on the job a whole month. These are things that he's had an opportunity to hit the road. And for me, my thought is, well, if he didn't have this, I think we would have a different conversation. So here's a man who's coming with a plan. It's not a complete plan, but he has some direction of where he wants to go. And I applaud him for, coming in, listening to those who are already in the department, and as well, some individuals outside of the city. So, and this is an administrative issue as well, but we did set up for members of council. We've asked each one of you if you could set time down to talk about your priorities in your ward, as well as having Chief Davis to be a part of that. So I believe we're waiting for a response from you, Councilman Oliver, for maybe next Monday. We wanted to sit down with you because we've talked to 2 council members already today. So those are things that we did not ignore. It's just we need your response to say you're available to have that conversation.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Councilman Hughes.
Let's be short. I'm not trying to add nothing to it, back and forth, but I didn't quite understand all that. He's going to meet with us to find out, get our input for a program that he's already started. And I don't really want to go back and forth with the mayor about it. My concerns wasn't really directed to the mayor. They was directed to the police chief, so if he's not going to allow him to answer, then the rhetoric needs to stay silent as well.
Okay.
Direct response.
Just a moment, Mayor. I see Councilwoman, before you respond, Mayor, Councilwoman McNally, you had your hand up.
Yeah, it's gonna be different topic. So if you wanted to let Chief Davis or the mayor respond to Jimmy first.
All right, and I'll get back to you, Lauren. Mayor McNally, I apologize, Mayor Brown.
A direct response through for Councilman Hughes. It was asked of me from Councilman Oliver. I was just responding to his call. I'm Chief Davis is more than capable of answering the questions. But okay, like I mentioned earlier, there's no back and forth. We're trying to get input. So we welcome your input and your ideas.
Okay, let me ask you this, Chief. Are these ideas that you have in mind, or are these things that you've already put into play? For instance, the move of serve from the 6th floor, which I have wanted to see gone from the 6th floor for a long time, because I don't like serve, and it's honestly, it's criminals up there on the same floor with city council members. So is this serve move something that's already happened?
No, it's in the process. I'll be chief 1 week tomorrow.
Okay.
And eventually I will speak to all of council. My door is always open. Councilman Davis, you and I have talked on several occasions.
Yep.
I look forward to speaking with I've spoken to Councilman Oliver very briefly, but I did speak to him. But these plans are in their early stages right now, and eventually I will speak to everyone.
Okay. So what you're saying are these are some of the things that you would like to see implemented within the Youngstown Police Department under your command?
That is correct. That is my vision.
For clarification purposes. So then would you please tell me what you have actually done thus far? Give us an update. For
Well,
instance, let's start with transfers and
yeah, I have.
personnel.
Yes, I have Officer Mostella sitting right next to me right now, along with Detective Sergeant Jose Morales. Both of these gentlemen have been transferred and are working on this plan right now as we speak. If you don't mind, can I have Officer Mostella go into more detail about what his plans are with the midnight basketball?
Does the committee have any objections to Officer Mostella?
It's not something that I'm trying to hear, but as speaking.
Okay, Councilman Alexander?
Thank you through the chair. I just wanted so I can take some notes. Chief, can you let me know from what department or division they came from to where they're going and how that's going to affect staffing or productivity from where they came from? Like, are you planning to replace their positions of what they were doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, how's that going to affect your staffing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief, before you answer, Councilwoman Adams-Zach, at some point, is it okay for Officer Mostella to do his little presentation?
I'm fine. That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, go ahead. So, Chief, if you would, answer Councilwoman Adams-Zach's question about the reassignment of the personnel from whence they came and to where they're presently assigned.
Okay, Officer Mostella was transferred from the midnight turn. He worked the C-turn division. We just gave a test on Saturday. We're looking to be hiring new officers soon who will replace Officer Mostella in the patrol division. Detective Sergeant Morales was assigned to the detective division and is now in our internal affairs division. There will be a promotion probably next week to replace me in my position, and that officer will then be reassigned to where Detective Sergeant Morales was.
Excuse me, Chief. Is for everyone else, I have a question. I don't know if it's on my end, but is he going in and out, or is he clear on your end?
He's clear.
He's clear.
Okay, then it's my phone. I'll go to my phone. Alrighty. So, thank you, Chief. Chief, let me go back to, because I put out an agenda, and because input was sought, and this is what I had submitted. I had asked about staffing levels So let's go back to the thing about the staffing levels. We're going to stay with the, try to stay with the agenda. Chief, what are the current staffing levels? How many patrol officers do you have? How many supervisors do you have?
Can you give me a minute to get that?
Yes.
Through the chair, Anita, can I ask a question in the meantime?
Sure, he can multitask. Go ahead, Councilman Oliver.
No, I just wanted to ask the mayor. He said he invited us to talk, and he's waiting for me for Monday. Maybe I should text him or something, but I'm just looking for the invitation for that. I don't have it.
Through the chair.
Mayor?
Yeah, I'll text you because it was right after our CPED meeting. I think that was the request.
Okay, Mayor, thanks. I don't have it, so if you could send it to me. Thank you.
Not a problem. Mhm.
Chief, are you good now?
There you go. Okay, to the chair.
Go ahead.
There
Go
are
ahead, Chief.
142 total sworn, 42 brass, and 98 patrolmen, and 49 civilian employees.
It was just so scary and frightening because.
Excuse me, Jimmy, I'm gonna ask you to take over for a minute while I log on to my other phone, okay? Because I can't hear him. So if you just would.
Yes, I got you. Basha?
Thank you through the chair. And I apologize if you guys talked about this maybe at a previous meeting that I did not attend. These changes that we're making and the promotions that we're doing and the additional hires that we're doing, is this something that was already accounted for in the budget? Or is this something that we're hoping to accomplish? Like, was this in the ask for the department budget, or I'm just a little confused, like what is actually in place and already changed versus what the hopes of the department are? I'm trying to differentiate the two.
Okay, yeah, this is something I
Through the chair, is that you, Chief?
yes, it is. Yes, it is, Councilman. Yes.
You want to say through the chair?
I'm sorry, sir. Through the chair. Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Yes, this
Chief.
is something that we were hoping for.
Trying to follow you on that. You already said that they're going into place, but you're saying the new hiring is something you're hoping for.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, is there any other additional hope for us that's going to be financially that you mentioned earlier? You might want to, is it just a new hiring?
Yeah, just the new hiring.
All right. Marsha, did that answer your question?
Through the chair, thank you. Somewhat. I mean, I guess I'm kind of following, but then my concern is if council for some reason would not, approve additional hires, the changes that were already made. So are we just going to be down patrol, or are we going to put those people that were shifted back to their other positions?
If I can answer this real quick here, there's really not an additional fund-wise because when Detective Sergeant Davis moved up to be chief, the chief moved out the door. So the kicker of it is that the funding and the budget, the perceived budget, would be almost identical to the previous. There's not, until we hire a body coming into the door, all we're doing is shuffling the positions. Chief Davis took Chief Lee's position, and somebody's going to get promoted to take that. It actually is going to be less money being spent when it's all said and done than it was prior, until we hire. So if he's talking about the hiring, which he didn't say in the second half, there's no additional approval probably even needed if we just go with the same amount that we used previous years, because there's no additional funds that's going to be, because of Chief Lee's going out the door, all the players are still in place, with the exception of if we hire to move up, and that's a new person. And maybe a 15% increase. But other than that, that's all it really is. I don't know. Lauren, are you raising your hand or did I miss that?
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. I got this.
Okay, I just acknowledged Lauren to say
Oh, that's
something.
okay. I'm gonna need your help because I'm on my phone and I don't know how to do this from my telephone. So if you don't mind, Jimmy, I don't know exactly how to do this from my phone. Could you lend me a hand here and continue to chair the meeting, and I'll be here with my hand up.
Okay, Lauren.
Thanks. Okay,
Oh, there we
I
go.
kind of want to just maybe take a step back. I'm starting to get a little bit confused and convoluted with our conversation. If we just talking about right now your plan, Chief, with the staffing levels and diversity training only, we're only talking about that. You probably already went over this, but I'm sorry. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it one thing at a time. Can you go through exactly what you want, what your overall plan is, what has happened so far already? And then if there's a price tag at the end of the day, we'll have to look at that. I feel like
Okay,
kind of separately.
and I'll resume the chair. Thank you, Jimmy. Chief, go ahead.
Okay, and to answer that, what has already happened, to the chair, what has already taken place, several officers have been transferred to different divisions.
And is that, I'm
Go ahead,
sorry,
Lauren.
is that to fill vacant positions, or is that because you want to put an emphasis on a certain division right now, or up a certain position, a certain division?
That's correct. Two of the transfers, Officer Mastella.
Which is correct.
Officer Mastella to planning and training. He will be linked to the SERVE program. Detective Sergeant Morales was transferred from the detective division to internal affairs. Detective Sergeant Morales will be handling the body cameras, which are coming sometime in the near future.
Okay.
Lauren?
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat this back to you to make sure I understand. So you wanted to, as you want to expand SERVE, you created a new position that has to do with planning and training, and it's kind of a liaison to SERVE, and that's what Officer Mastella is going to serve as?
That is correct.
Okay, and then as we look to implement body cameras, as as an initiative that I'm hearing must be a focus, you decided to move Officer Morales to the internal affairs to have him focus on that initiative.
That is correct.
Okay,
Okay.
I got it now. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Councilman Oliver?
Yes, thank you. Chief, or I see guys joined us. How does that liaison position enhance SERVE at all?
Okay, excuse me, Councilman, before he switches down to SERVE, and I will let you get back to the SERVE thing.
Okay.
I just want to, let's just get through the staffing level and the diversity training. and try to stick to this, my agenda just a little bit before we jump all the way down to serve in detail. Okay, so are there any additional staffing level changes that you would like to inform council about that you think is that we need to know? Because the staffing, how the department is staffed, who's assigned to where, that is something that's in the chief's thing. It's nice to know about it, but it is his transfer, as it has been in the purview of every police chief. To change when they come in, just like when a mayor comes in, the mayor brings in his staff. So are there any additional staffing levels that you would like to inform the council about?
No, not at this time.
Okay, then on the agenda also was the thing about diversity training. What will you be doing about diversity training to make sure that it is increased?
Well, we've already been doing diversity training, but we're going to continue. I believe Officer Mastella will be an addition to that, will help us maybe enhance that a little bit more with the diversity training. And what I mean by that is involving the community more, getting more input from the community.
Chief, I put this on the agenda, and I'll be frank. One reason why is because of what happened on January the 6th, 2021, when the Capitol was stormed, and it's been shown that some of the people, not many of them, but a few of the people were active and retired members of police departments, none from ours, but clearly at some of these other police departments, there's been a problem. So just doing the same thing is just doing the same thing. Are you planning to increase the diversity training and I don't want to say sensitivity, but cultural diversity training? Any plans to increase it to make sure that they understand, that everyone is on the same page?
Yes, and that will be done through with the help of Guy Burney and Officer Mastella. You hear me? I don't think so.
Need, I think you're off,
Off camera? Okay.
you're
I
off
think-
everything.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions about staffing levels and diversity training? Lauren?
All right, just for staffing levels, so these are the only two new positions creating right now. Have you talked about any other positions that you're looking to create this year in the police department, or any talk of bringing our community police program back up to full staff?
Eventually, I would like to see the community police, but at this time, I think I touched on this with you earlier. I want to see every officer become more community police oriented. During their downtime, I would like to see officers in between calls make contact with victims of burglaries or someone that may be having an issue with blight in their neighborhood or high grass or any quality of life issue. During their downtime, make a couple of contacts, extra contacts a day. We're going to be doing that here shortly. So, like I said, I would like to see every officer become more community police oriented.
Vasha?
Thank you through the chair. I just have one final question regarding staffing. Chief, thank you. You went over the current staffing levels that we have. What is your goal ultimately? Because I know you said we're going to be have an exam and be doing some hiring. How many additional officers did you want to hire in totality?
Well, I would have to look at the exact numbers, Councilwoman Adams-Zack. But through attrition, we have lost several officers and they have not been replaced yet, but I'll get you the exact numbers. I don't have that in front of me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Before you go, Julius, Chief, I was having a problem with my phone earlier when I asked that question about our staffing levels. And so I did not hear you. What are the numbers that we have right now?
Okay, Councilwoman Davis, right now there are 98 patrol officers, 42 officers, ranking officers, 49 civilian employees. Total 191.
Are you aware that in the city of Lorraine that they have a total of 140 for their entire police department, and that's through all the ranks and their civilians?
No,
Chief, all due respect, I'm gonna tell you, you're talking about trying to bring this to the police department between its civilian and its uniform officers over the 200 mark. And you're not going to see me in favor of something like that. I think what we need to be doing is downsizing I have said it before, we are top heavy. We need fewer brass and more patrol. That's going to be the position that I maintain. I'm not speaking for other members of council, but that is my opinion, that we're top heavy. We need, at 98, then maybe we need to start looking at the use of other things besides just the human manpower, because there's a finite number as to the dollars that we have. I'm just telling you honestly from whence I come. I haven't changed my opinion from the time I got on council. Okay, anything else on staffing and diversity training?
Oh, I'm waiting on.
Julius?
Yeah, thank you, through chair.
Yes.
So, Chief, my question is, with your experience in internal affairs and some of my experiences with police officers, such as being pulled over and, well, not really pulled over, but just told to turn my effing fog lights off because it's a law while the guy was training another younger officer. Just giving your experience in that department, do you know specifically what type of diversity training or training you're going to put your officers through in order to change the culture of the police department to that more community feel, rather than making our citizens feel like they're being hunted and harassed? You know what I mean? So I'm guessing, but because of your experience in that you would have an exact mind of what type of training and diversity training you were going to put your officers through. Would I be wrong in asking that question?
No, absolutely not. Councilman Oliver, me being a Black officer myself, my family members have also experienced that type of harassment by police. And I didn't appreciate it. The next training that we did, as a matter of fact, I spoke with some of my staff today, we'll be dealing with racial profiling. And I don't have the dates for that, but that will be the next topic that we deal with, racial profiling.
Thank you. Through the chair, follow up.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Just a question for the mayor. What type of assignments have you handed down to Chief as far as what you see needs to happen in the police department? Because I know quite a few of us suggested that Chief Lee should be replaced over 3 years ago when you came in, and that didn't happen. So what happened from that time till now, and what have you seen to make this appointment, and what initiatives or what have you given to your new chief as to what you see needs to happen within the police department?
Through the chair.
Mayor?
I think, you know, for us right now, the world has changed, and the culture we live in has changed, and we have to change with it. I want the chief to really be engaged in social and mental health. If we get the calls for service, that's what we hear a lot of. But I also want the police not just to go into the neighborhoods when there's crime. I want them to be in the neighborhood when there's not crime. I want the beat officers to know who's in that neighborhood. I want them to know their name, and I want vice versa. So it was all about building relationships. And for me in leadership, I just thought it was a time for us to go in a different direction. And Chief Davis has really come on with all of his ideas and his vision. Now, how we implement them is going to be up to us as a team. All of us that's on this call, it's going to be up to us to help him implement that. And that's why I think it's critical for us to hear from not just the internal department, not just city council, but also from the community as what they're looking for. So there was multiple factors in that, and one of those things is I want to make sure the needs of the city is taken care of, and that's why Chief Davis is there right now, really trying to implement himself into things that he's actually observed over 35 years, and I think that's going to be a big piece for us, and as well as him being immersed right here in the city of Youngstown.
Councilman Oliver, anything else?
Not at this time.
Good. All right. Thank you. Okay. The community engagement, I think, has sort of been addressed. Any additional thing on community engagement, Chief, that you want us to know?
Okay.
Are you done with that part?
And can Officer Mastella, can I have him speak?
Yes, go ahead. Officer Mastella, go ahead.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just wanted to let you know, Midnight Basketball League was an idea that came from a citizen in the community. It actually was brought up about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago before all of these changes took place. And at that point, that person, his name is Randy Newby, he contacted me and asked me would the police department be interested in sponsoring a team or putting a team in ourselves, which I told him that I would look into, which was long before this happened. Now that this has happened, we are going to help. We're looking at helping Randy set up the league itself, and then go from there as far as like where it's going to be and all of that. But there's going to be a meeting this Friday evening at 7 p.m. where Mr. Newby is getting ready to set up the teams. Once the teams are set up, then he'll tell us what he would like to see the city do or serve do from there. So it's already in the works for the Midnight Basketball League. It was in the works before all of this started. So it actually came from the community.
Councilwoman Adams-Zack?
Thank you, through the chair. A couple questions. When I was just going to ask, when are we officially going to be starting the program? And I mean, I think it's a great idea because we've talked about at several meetings that we need to kind of engage that age group and give them some type of activity to do. My concern is regarding the curfew. We have a curfew now because of COVID, but even beyond COVID, there's a curfew implemented in the city. How is that going to be affected, or how can then the youth stay out past curfew for that reason?
Officer Mastella.
The curfew is still in effect. It's like, I think he's getting ready to move it to 11 o'clock. And if we have to end up not playing during the night, we end up playing during the day, we'll still play. And that way we won't be breaking any laws in the process. Right now, we're in the process of just forming everything. So if everything is still in place, which more than likely it will be, we'll just have to move the league to the daytime, but we'll still play.
To the chair.
Go ahead, Councilman Oliver.
Yeah, just to, kind of go off Councilwoman Adams-Zack's point, we've talked about programming for multiple years and multiple meetings now. It'd have been nice to know that this was already in the works, possibly been able to get some additional support from council in the planning stages. My question would be, where do we feel like this is going to be happening? Are to be a moving basketball league? Are you going to get some grant funding to put the Midnight Basketball League back at South Field House? I think it was played there some years or multiple years. But are we doing this at high schools? How are we going to get the game started?
Go ahead, Malik.
Well, like I said, Mr. Newbie is just getting us off the ground. We won't be able to use the field house. The field house is in no condition to be used. I mean, it requires so much repair that the city can't afford to repair it. So right now, we're just looking at seeing how many people are interested in playing. Mr. Newbie hasn't even had his first meeting yet. Like I said, that's going to be Friday night.
Well, so just for your a little bit of your information, there's a lot of people, prominent people in the community that's interested in restoring South Field House. So if you want, we can talk offline and probably see if we can get that together.
Well, Councilman Oliver, I would appreciate any help you can give me.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you have that, I would love to meet with you, and I would love to see the field house restored.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Councilwoman McNally. Lauren?
Thank you. Okay, so community engagement, one thing you're doing is this midnight basketball program. I have a couple questions about that. And then in terms of like the cost, are you throwing it into the 2021 budget, or do you have money for it from somewhere else? And the police presence, are you gonna have pulling people off patrol on the midnight? Are people working overtime to run this league?
Well,
and thirdly, I'm concerned about COVID. Have you run this past our health department? And
well, Officer Mastella.
Through the chair.
Officer Mastella.
Yeah, well, we are not going to run the league. It's going to be run outside by civilians. Each team is responsible for its own uniforms, finding its own sponsor. So we won't be doing any of that part. I have to meet with Mr. Bernie, which I'm going to be doing next week. He's on vacation right now, and find out exactly what part will the city actually play in this. I'm pretty sure if we play at night, and that's a big if, but if we play at night, we're going to have to provide security. That would be my boss's question to answer. I can't speak for if it's going to be an AT job or cash. That's way above my pay grade. As far as grants and things like that, if they're available and the city's able to apply to help with these programs, sure. Like I said, I'm willing to take any help that I can get, but the teams are going to be self-sufficient. The teams are actually going to have sponsors from whoever they get their sponsors from to get what they need. COVID-wise, we're going to probably have to look to what the high schools are doing in the area as far as how they're handling it, and probably handle it the exact same way. So yes, we're going to have to go through the health department once we start this, if we're going to be involved, because the city will be involved somewhat, especially with our officers being there to provide security. I'm also looking at having a couple of our officers help coach a team. So we will be around, we will be involved, but we are not directly in charge of it.
Okay, Lauren, follow up?
thank you. Yeah, is this your focus right now for community engagement, or did you have other programs in the works?
There are a few other things that
here.
Officer Mastella.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Councilwoman. I apologize. Today is day 4 of my position. So I've been setting up meetings and getting in touch with people with ideas about what I would like to see happen. I would like to see, it's been a long time since all of our major units have been connected. What I mean by major units, I would talk about our school system, our police department, and the community itself. We need to be intertwined for everything to work, for things to get better. So I'm in the process of trying to find a way to combine that, to get everything back up under one roof per se, in order to create some programs that can help our children succeed from elementary school all the way through high school.
Okay.
And go from there. So this, like I said, is day 4. So the next time that the chief has a report for you, I'm hoping to have more information for you.
Okay. Officer Mastella, do you have contact information so that people have some suggestions and ideas that they can reach you and to give them to
Sure,
you?
they can reach me here at the police department. My hours change a little bit, but I'm here every day, Monday through Friday. I have a Facebook page if anybody wants to reach me through that. And after I announced this position, my page is almost up to 1,200 hits. So if they want to contact me through Facebook, they can.
What is your city phone number?
Phone number, just call the station. Right now, I'm just getting into my office. I don't even have a full-fledged extension yet.
Officer Mastella, what is the number for the Youngstown Police Department?
It is 330-742-8926.
One more time.
330-742-8926. That's the desk area, and they will get me a message.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Day.
Councilman Oliver first, and then Councilwoman Adam Zach.
I just want to address Malik for a second. In reference to the Southfield House, not to beat a dead horse, but
yes, sir.
It is a city-owned property, and we know the city has been taking a position of dealing with unsafe buildings or buildings that need to be brought up to code. So I think you can get with your administration team and see what the city can do to bring that building up to code, because it could be basically a safe haven for the youth of all the city.
Yes, sir. It was my safe haven for 4 years.
Yeah.
I spent more time in that building than I did at home when I went to South.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you. And I believe that would be something that could be done under Buildings and Grounds Committee.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Well,
sorry.
through the chair.
Go ahead, Officer Mastella.
I know we're off topic, but I would like to know who that chair is, and I'll contact them and work with Councilman Oliver.
That's me.
Oh, cool.
That's why I chuckled. Okay. All right, thank you. Councilwoman Adam Zach?
Thank you through the chair. This is just a comment, not so much a question, just based off of what Councilman McNally asked about the finances involved with running the league. And I mean, maybe call me naive or overly hopeful. I didn't even consider paying overtime. I assumed this was going to be voluntary. And I also assumed that the league would probably pay for the security, not that the city would be responsible for this, since we're trying to engage the community. That's also just a comment.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to be, I'm not going to be committing on behalf of the chief, but I don't know of too many programming things where our officers volunteer day in or day out on a regular basis and just work for free. I mean, every so often, yes, but a commitment of that kind of time, don't know. Chief, what do you think? And I know this, you can put the fillers out and then get back with us at a later date. Is that okay, Chief?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman McNally, I see your hand up, I believe.
Yeah, I guess just kind of a comment from me. I guess personally, I'm happy to redirect funding for programs like this, or that have, the community engagement element, because I think that's what the mayor is trying to get towards, that he mentioned, when he first made this change of police chief. And I think that's been kind of the conversation, that, we want to do things differently in the police department. And so, if these types of engagement programs are things that we want to expand on, and, they need funding, then I'm happy to have that conversation and look at the budget and what we're spending money on now that can change, be redirected.
To the chair.
Councilman Oliver?
Yeah.
And then I have a question for Dana.
Maybe this is actually a question for Dana. I think the last meeting we had, finance meeting, we were talking with Cal, and Cal mentioned how much money was in the forfeiture and seizure account. And I think, if I'm not correct, and like I said, I've talked to Chief Lees about this in the past always, you know, basically brushed it, but I think youth programming such as this Midnight Basketball League and things of the such, that money can be used for these type of programming. So that's something that could possibly offset it, not be so hard on the budget, because we can use some of that money. If I'm not correct, Dana, can you answer that for me?
Dana? You're muted.
Thank you. Yes, so when they were talking about the money at that last finance committee meeting, I think they were kind of commingling a couple of issues there, because there is forfeiture money under 2981, and that has ORC required or permitted uses, and that type of programming would be permitted. They were also talking about some other money, and I wasn't quite clear where that was coming from, but the revised code, it probably in about 2012 changed those requirements, and you have to keep a very strict log of what you took the money for and what you're spending it on. So we can take a look at those records and see what that money was used for. Some of it goes into the law enforcement trust fund, like when we would do as part of a Rule 11 agreement that they would forfeit whatever money was found on them, rather than an actual forfeiture filed as a separate civil action. So to answer your question, generally, yes, I think we can use it for those type of programming type issues, but there are some pretty strict requirements that changed over the years, because there was too much forfeiture primarily in federal law enforcement, and states and the federal government kind of buckled down on that and said it's not a money-making proposition when we do these things. So I can get with the chief and make sure that he's brought up to speed on some of the nuance with that, and we can present something to council at the next meeting, at the next committee meeting, if you'd like.
I like that. Thank you. Whose hand was up?
Mine was, but
Jimmy? I'm sorry.
It's getting tired.
Hey, I have to go flip on my phone. Jimmy, Councilman Hughes?
I get the basketball thing, you know, but it doesn't seem like you got there's no real plan doing I mean, I don't say it's bad. I'm not commenting on that. It seems to be what they do is the individuals do. But you know, and during the middle of a the virus, the pandemic that's going around, we could see the rest of this year, and that's not even going to be legal for them to even group up and play. You know, if they can't come to, a lot would depend on it was the audience that came to those games, and then the rehearsals and all of that. You know, we're not having that, and we probably won't have it for the rest of this year either, as things go, until they get this pandemic under control. I think that saying that right off the bat that that's what we're going to do in order to get this intervention with the community, you know, you might have to relook at that. I think that you're assigning positions to people's outside of positions. And what about your planning and training unit that you already have established? You know, are they not going to be engaged in all of this extra planning and training that you're doing? You're creating a planning unit with this author Mustela. That's how you pronounce his last name. I forget. He used to work down there when I was. But
Okay.
I'm still not done, Deep, so please don't get carried away with that.
No.
Put this aside. I think you might want to relook at that. And your interventions, we had a gorgeous program, this crisis intervention team training. Are you continuing? This is for the chief whenever. Are you continuing with that? And that deals with the mental health and awareness and all of this that we really like to see that going into the community as well. You know, as much as back and forth. And I would really like to see the chief at least give us an opportunity to get away from the idea that community police is everybody, you know. So I was hoping that sometime in between this, I can do the pitch, you know, my pitch about the community police as it was originally designed was not everybody, you know, and that's seemed to be the direction the chief is going. So we're not going to see a separate community police unit. We're just going to see, you know, everybody's community police. So we're going to keep taking the federal dollars and hope that they turn a blind eye that we don't have community police. I get that. You know, take as much as you can and hope for the best. But the point still being is that you have units already set up for a lot of the training, and it's back and forth. And I like to throw one more thing in here because I've heard.
Okay, Jimmy, one more thing. You give me
One more thing.
but one more thing.
I take it back. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I do
I mean, that
got
was a
one
lot.
thing,
That was a,
Well, it's a lot, and they said a lot though, but it's the whole
Okay.
point. Are we ready for it? You know, but go ahead.
it is the chief's first week. And and this is just an introductory meeting, and we will be having more, maybe some smaller meetings. And so that he can have things a little more concrete for us in the future. And almost everything, of course, while he has hopes and things for the department and plans for community engagement and things like that, COVID-19 dictates, and that's in everything, you know, all the way around. I am not dismissive of anything that the chief has presented to us, Councilman Hughes. But we all know that whatever he has, whatever he wants, it's all restricted by the COVID virus. And it's true. We may not get to these things until 2022, but it's a thing. It is the wise thing to do to start working on these things now, and hope that the virus is gotten under control. We don't just stand still until then, though.
Nita, can I add something?
Councilman Hughes, and I apologize, but I'm on my phone, so I gotta.
I'm Oliver.
Okay, Julius.
I mean, that's a good compliment for Jimmy, but just one more thing.
Councilman Oliver.
I'm getting slapped around both sides. Give me a break here.
Councilman Oliver.
I just, for Chief and Malik and the mayor, just for the whole basketball thing, I would say you guys don't really have to look too far. You guys already have an officer in-house, Tyra Grant, who has an awesome program when it comes to basketball and our youth. So you guys might want to have a conversation with her, and that'll help you out a little bit, I think.
Tell him it's already in the works.
To the chair.
Yes, go ahead. Who's speaking?
Yeah, to the chair. Councilman Oliver, yes, we've already, that's already in the works with Tyra Grant. She will also be part of this program.
Cool, great, thanks.
Okay. Anyone else?
To the chair,
Councilman
I
Hughes?
also think Tyra Grant, since I've known her when she played ball in Ursuline, the school system, excellent ball player, excellent person, and I can never say enough about her, and I didn't want this opportunity to pass without me recognizing her for her accomplishments.
Okay. Okay. We're going to move on to the expansion of the SERVE program. Besides the midnight basketball, what else do you have in mind for SERVE, Chief?
Well, through the chair,
Go ahead, Chief.
Councilman Davis, actually it's been, he's been on vacation this week, so there's been no, I haven't been able to sit down and have a meeting with him to finalize some things that we like to do. I spoke to him briefly about the basketball program, and he was all on board with it. And he advised me that he would be out of town for a couple of weeks, but I assure you that once he returns, he and I will get together, and we will talk more, and I'll have some more answers for you at the next meeting.
Okay, that's only fair. I mean, it would be inappropriate to speak more without talking to him first. Did I hear Councilman Hughes, Oliver?
It's Oliver. Guys on the call, it appears. I don't know if he wants to chime in at all, but my question would be, are there plans in place either from the chief or the mayor to get SERVE to where it was originally intended? I mean, I know adding a position or liaison may help in some capacity, but how do you get served to where it's supposed to be without throwing the dollars at it to staff it up the way it's needed?
Was that for me?
Chief, would you like to answer that now, or do you want to talk to Guy Bernie first?
I would like to talk to Guy Bernie, but I can answer part of that.
Go ahead.
We will be linking Guy to our family services unit. I think that would be beneficial because a lot of issues that we have are with juveniles. We also, like I said, we have a licensed social worker that works in that unit. So to connect them all together, I believe we can accomplish more. But again, once I speak to Guy Bernie, we'll go into more detail about that. And I'll talk to you about it at the next meeting.
Councilman Oliver?
Yeah, I guess if Guy or the mayor isn't going to speak on it, I guess we'll wait till there's a meeting. I mean, I guess everybody's on the call now, so I'm going
to take chairperson's prerogative and say they may be here now, but on this call. But if they haven't met and discussed anything, you are not going to have your meeting here. So
I don't really know what that means, but okay.
What I'm saying is, if they haven't had a sit down and discussed any of their plans, I mean, how can they discuss it with us if they haven't talked amongst themselves? You know,
Okay.
I think that's what the chief wants to do, and I'm going to defer to him and let him come back to us in a couple of weeks with some real details about what he's planning on doing with SERV to make SERV meet those things that Guy Bernie had talked about to all of us in the past. His desire to have more people to be able to go out and do interdiction. But let's be fair to the chief. Yes, he's accepted the job, but he can't have the answer to everything in 1 week's time.
That's fair.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Chief, I have an issue about departmental transparency, and frankly, I don't think the Youngstown Police Department or most police departments, they don't like being transparent. And I don't think the Youngstown Police Department has been particularly transparent. Please tell me if you've had time to do an assessment, not just since you've been chief, but since you've been in internal affairs and you've been with the Youngstown Police Department for 30 years. How do you assess the department's transparency level, and is there room for improvement? Chief.
To the chair. To the chair, yes, there's always room for improvement. I think we can accomplish this through a stronger social media presence. We're putting a plan together to get that done. I've also met with several clergy in the area. I've spoken to my pastor, Pastor Kenny Simon. He's all in. We'll be meeting with him to get the community more involved and transparent in everything that we do.
What do you mean by transparent?
Yes, and I have young Jose Morales here with, again, we're going to be going to the body cameras here in the near future. If he can speak to, what his role will be in that and how it involves transparency.
Well, before we get to the body cameras, because that's the last thing on the agenda.
Okay.
And I do want to go and have a lot of time for that. But I'd like for you to tell me, what do you mean by departmental transparency? I wrote it down, but how do you know, what is transparency in your estimation? Not from your position as just a police chief, but from
Right.
years as a police officer.
Right. Well, and most of that would involve like complaints. If there's a complaint made, we will make sure that the complainant is updated on a regular basis on where the investigation is going. We've always, even my years in internal affairs, we've sent out conclusion letters with, what our findings were, but I think we can probably do better in making sure that every step through the investigation, we stay in contact with the complainant. That will be the same for even homicide investigations. Of course, we have to be careful about compromising the detectives, their investigation, but we'll try to, we'll be more transparent on where we are, in those investigations, because that was one of the biggest complaints I would get in my office when I worked in internal affairs, is that the detective is not calling me back. He's not keeping me updated on what's going on. Make sure that we're more transparent there and updating those family members.
I know that there's a privacy concern and everything else, but how does the public know that there's been a complaint lodged, and that, how many complaints there are being lodged? Or is it just isolated incidents? Are you going to be given some sort of reports? Are you going to be given like an annual report about the number of cases that have been filed, complaints filed against officers? Do we get some sort of update monthly, annually?
And that's something that I would speak probably to our law department about first, to make sure, that I'm within my rights to give out that type of information. But I have no problem.
Dana, without him revealing who the individual officers who are in the identities and things, just a report about the number of complaints that have been filed with internal affairs, that is public information, isn't it?
Statistics can be reported, yes.
Okay.
Uncharged conduct is another issue. So certain investigations or parts thereof would not be subject to a public record, and some of it we would be prohibited from revealing, but statistically we can. And I believe that there is an annual report by the police department that is put out on crimes, but I'm not certain as to whether internal affairs has a division where they report. I can't recall.
Councilman Hughes?
We used to put out an annual report, and every department participated into it. The detectives, internal affairs, each and everything else. So it was a little bit more than just statistics, but the department, and they would present that to the mayor every year, and it would go from every department. The chief would put out an annual report, and then the mayor would have the annual report for the police department. I believe they had one for the fire department as well, too, but for the various departments, I think they should all have one, throughout the city. But we should not be having to guess, nor should we be having to saying if it's whatever it is. But the report was a regular thing at one time. I think it still goes on, to tell you the truth. But
well, Councilman, that's what I was kind of driving at, because I haven't seen one in several years, and I don't think members of council have gotten one in several years unless somebody else has. But I haven't seen one in years. And if there's an annual, it should be something that the public made available to the public as well. And since the chief, now that you're going digital, it could be put online like other police departments do. And you can go to other police departments around us, Akron and Canton, all of those, and their annuals are online, and you can go back 25 years. So that's what I'm talking about, transparency. Put it out there, Chief.
That's something I would definitely embrace.
How else, and so far as you mentioned about using the media having a presence there. Is there anything else? Chief,
No, I don't know.
is anyone else's hand up about transparency? Councilman Oliver? Nope. Okay, then the thing that, you know, that's last on the agenda is dealing with these body cameras. And Chief, you keep talking about the rollout. I'm glad that you appear to be in support of doing these body cameras because there was obvious hesitancy from the previous administration, but they're gone now. And a rollout, tell me when.
Well, to the chair, we met with a vendor yesterday. The name of the company, I believe, was Body Worn. And we'll be meeting with other vendors. But let me say this, there are layers of certain intricacies and I can't go into all of that right now because this is all new to me. Actually, it's new to all of us. But like I said, we met with the vendor yesterday, and one of the things that I found that I liked about this particular vendor was the look back feature. If an officer would get out of his vehicle and forget to turn on his body camera, like I believe there was an incident in Columbus not too long ago where that happened. There's a look back feature in this body camera that would automatically record that. And like I say, and Detective Sergeant Morales could give you more details on that. But it's still in the early stages at this time.
Through the chair.
Councilman Oliver?
Yeah, thank you. I had a conversation with a gentleman by the name of Mike Romeo. I think he does something ammo police department. And I don't know if you guys have had a conversation with him or not. But he said he would probably be able to work with the city. I know he's local. Just a suggestion if you guys haven't spoken with him yet.
Okay. Chief, what was the name of the vendor that you spoke to yesterday?
Body Worn.
WORN?
That is correct.
Okay. And could we hear from Officer Sergeant Morales?
Sure.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, council members. In light of my recent transfer to Internal Affairs Division, the chief has asked me to oversee the implementation of this new body-worn camera program. Like he said, right now we're in the very, very early stages of getting these cameras rolled out. We're going to be meeting with different vendors to discuss what cameras and features would be best for our department and our budget. With the implementation of these body cameras, I think there's going to be several benefits that will come along with them. Most important, you guys have hit on it today, is I think these cameras are going to enhance the transparency and openness to the public, which Chief Davis has stressed is very important, as it's going to build trust between our department and the community that we're serving. On top of that, I believe it's going to enhance accountability, not only for our officers, but accountability for the members of the community that we serve every day, who know and understand that their encounters with our officers are being documented. It's no secret that when cameras are on people, both sides of the camera tend to behave much better, which I believe are going to reduce the number of citizen complaints and use of force reports that we receive each year. Many agencies across the country report significant drops in complaints by as much as 60 to 80% after issuing body cameras. So we believe that this will reduce the number of unfounded complaints as well. We have many good officers throughout our department, and I think this program is going to help us build upon that. At the end of the day, our mission is to provide exceptional service to city residents and to the visitors, and I think these body cameras are going to help us accomplish that. The cameras will help us identify and correct any internal issues that we might have through training, and also at the same time help us recognize those officers who demonstrate exemplary acts of service. One thing Chief Davis has also stressed is getting the input of the community through town hall type meetings, because we definitely want to secure the public support with rolling these cameras out. Like I said earlier, I mean, it's very early stages, but I'm eager to get this off the ground, and I should have more information about it as we move forward.
Comments from members of council? Councilman Hughes?
I would just ask, is he working with the planning and training department of the police department in implementing this program? Are they involved in it at all?
Chief or someone in the PD?
Through the chair, I'm actually going to be working out of internal affairs.
Is that Sergeant Morales speaking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Well, my question was, I understood who it was, and I know where he's working out of. I wanted to know, would he be working in conjunction with the police department's planning and training unit?
Yeah, absolutely. To the chair, we're going to actually be working very close, because planning and training is going to be, developing the policies and procedures for this, anything related to these body worn cameras. So there's going to be a lot of policy written on it. So planning training is going to be directly involved.
And
Direct follow-up, Jimmy?
direct follow-up. I just didn't understand why planning training didn't take the lead role in it. That seems to be kind of a, whatever reason, but is there a reason why planning and training is not taking the lead role in that?
Who's that for, Jimmy?
Yeah, to the chair.
To the chief, I guess.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, through the chair, Councilman Hughes, because Internal Affairs will be handling the complaints. That's why Internal Affairs will be handling the body cameras. Also working along with planning and training, but Internal Affairs will be handling the complaints and investigating the complaints that are involved with the body cameras.
Direct follow-up.
Go ahead.
So you're for sure there's going to be complaints then, huh?
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it has to be. That's my only point.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Through the chair, Councilman Davis, Oliver.
I'm sorry, Julius, I didn't see your hand. I apologize.
Yeah, this for I guess the chief, is it still the fact that the greatest cost is going to be the storage and not the purchasing of the equipment itself?
Yes, from what I understand, like I said, I don't know all the intricacies at this time, Councilman Oliver, but yes, from what I understand.
Thank you.
Through the chair, if I may.
Who's speaking?
Actually, yeah, that
You're
is
not on camera, so who's speaking, please?
Morales.
Morales, go ahead.
And that is actually the biggest expense is the storage, not so much the hardware and the cameras themselves, but the amount of storage that is going to be used. I mean, the prices range for 5 years alone, anywhere between, 50,000 to 100,000 annually with some of these companies just to use their cloud storage.
Is that total?
That would be yearly. No, that's not total. That would be,
Yeah,
that would just,
50,000 yearly?
yes. 50
Okay,
to 100,000 annually. So in total, we're looking at about 250 to 300,000 in total for 5 years.
Okay. Well,
And those are early numbers. Like I said, it's very, very early, and there's still some, estimates to get. And I mean, I'll add that we're definitely going to take advantage of any and all available grants that we can get our hands on to fund this program. One grant that I know of as a vet, and like I said, this will be my 7th day. I've been here a week, but one grant that I know of we'll be applying for offers to match our purchases 1 for 1. So essentially, for every body camera that we purchase, the grant would purchase an additional camera. So if we bought 100 cameras, we could 50 of them would be given to us through this grant.
Sergeant Morales, this grant that you're talking about, what's the turnaround time? Because I'm not seeing us waiting a year for body cameras.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
turnaround time.
That I'm not quite sure of. Like I said, it's very early, but that's just one grant that I'm aware of and that we would still have to apply for.
I think all of our council people, they know that we are the stewards of the city's finances, but you tell the public your priorities and how you spend your money. And if we can spend our money on, I won't say frivolous things, but things that on holsters and putting little YPD stickers and stamps on equipment, then we will come up with the money for the cameras. And I do not want to see the rollout of these cameras being held up while we're applying for grants. Produce the figures for the cameras, and council will try to do its due diligence and get that money. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Copy that. Gotcha. Alrighty. Anyone else with questions about these body cameras? Do I see hands going up? No? Julius?
Sorry, I missed it.
Any questions about the body cameras?
No, I just wonder that we, try to research as many different vendors as possible. That's why I mentioned, I don't know Mike Romeo's company, but I know he's local and I know he's been over to save Camel money, tactical something security, but just there's other company that can save us money when it comes to the storage. I don't know if the city would be able to invest in getting some storage equipment of its own. I don't know if maybe that's a question for Rick Deek. I don't know if that's more expensive or less expensive, but I know there's solutions out there for us to get this done pretty quickly.
Okay, I have a question for you, Chief.
Yes.
What do you consider a reasonable amount of time to have these cameras on our uniformed personnel?
As soon as possible. I'm gonna
Chief.
hopefully Councilwoman Davis within the next 3-4 months, if possible.
Okay. And now, do you plan on having Dana, Attorney Lance? I'm sorry, Dana.
That's quite all right. I just wanted to mention that in discussions with Attorney Limby, and we had talked about not only assisting the police department with this, but ensuring that those video are available, not only for public records, but all of that will have to be available for discovery on an almost immediate basis for the city and county prosecutor's office, because that camera is another record in a criminal prosecution. So we have to provide that to defense counsel. So there is quite a bit that has to go into this besides, obviously, like they said, buying the cameras is the easy part. But the storage and the accessibility is really what makes it more complicated. And when we talk to prosecutors' offices throughout the state, that was the biggest issue, was the transmission of that video and how we make that happen smoothly, so you are not then bogged down with hiring a person that just handles that. If we have the right equipment and storage, then we don't have to have more personnel to process all of those. Number one. Number two, for example, if there's a video that's used or was compiled in a homicide, that has to be stored forever, versus if it was a theft that only has to be stored for, I think, 6 years. So there are things, it's a bigger project, so it will take a few months, but the mayor and Jeff had said it's kind of an all hands on deck proposition as it relates to our assisting with that.
And thank you, Attorney Lance. Also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on this one, but the state has already set up some guidelines, I believe, so far as storage. And I think that Sergeant Morales might want to take a look at that on the storage and also on the freedom of information, because what everybody needs to understand is that when you invite an officer into your house and that officer is wearing a camera, depending upon which guidelines we follow, everything in your house is recorded. So, and then anyone out of this pure curiosity can request it. So no, I know Attorney Lance has been looking at this. I'm sure she has, to look at the state's guidelines to make sure everybody's rights are protected. Anyone else got questions on the body cameras? Chief, I do have a question on how many do you expect to buy? Because of the body cameras, is it going to be for every member of the department, even those who don't go out and meet the public on a regular basis? Or is it only for the uniformed officers that you expect to have so outfitted?
Through the chair, there are 150 sworn personnel, so at this time, that's the number of cameras we were looking at.
Is that standard for most departments, that they put it on a camera on their detectives as well?
Yeah, detectives can encounter.
Are they going to be wearing them in plain clothes, or are you talking about when they're working a side job?
No, in plain clothes. When in plain clothes, when out in the field working, investigating or doing follow-ups, yes, that detective will be wearing a camera. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. I think we need to have more discussion on that.
Okay. Sure, we will.
Yeah. Anything else to, any other questions about the body cameras? Don't do it, Jimmy. Jimmy? You're muted, Jimmy. You're muted.
I said, God knows I'm glad too, but
Okay. Is that it then?
that's it, Nee.
Alrighty. If there are no other, are there any other questions then? Councilwoman Adams, Zach, McNally, Councilman Oliver. Okay. If not, thank you, Chief, for the presentation. We'll see you back here in a few weeks. And I know you have done your homework and have all those numbers and things. And if
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
anything that you need to email to us in advance, in between, we will welcome them. And Chief, I would say I would like to see the annual brought back online.
Okay.
Basha?
Thank you, through the chair. I didn't raise my hand previously because I didn't have a question directly about the body cameras. Just to comment, I also wanted to thank Chief for coming and presenting, and I also want to commend him and wish him all the best. This is a very big undertaking. I know we asked a lot of questions. We're here to support you. I know that you work for the pleasure of the mayor, but we are here to support you. So we obviously want to work right alongside with you and with the rest of the community, because ultimately we're all stewards to the constituents that we represent. So I look forward to, working with you as we all do, and hopefully we're able to, move the city forward and make it a safer, better place for our residents.
I agree. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just one last thing, needed through the chair.
Councilman Oliver?
Yeah, Chief. So just moving forward, most of us on council, well, I guess all of us on council, we hear directly from the community on a daily basis. So when it comes to planning things out, implementing programs, moving forward on certain things, consulting with any one of us on the things we deal with on a daily basis is going to be great information and greatly helpful to you in doing your job. And I know you get kind of the same information from our constituency on the daily as well. But I think if we all work together as a team, like, we can change this whole thing around. Thanks. That's it. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Councilman Oliver. I agree. Thank you.
And going around, Councilman McNally, anything? No? Councilman Hughes?
Or
I'm sorry, Lauren, I'm sorry.
just to say something quickly. Like, don't be afraid to discuss first off. Don't assume that just because it's going to cost money or we're gonna, you know, it's a huge change, like that we're gonna say no, right? I know it can be sometimes intimidating to come talk to us like this, but I feel like we just try to find solutions and ways around things when it comes to financials of programs. It sounds like you have a lot of programs you want to get started. So just keep the lines of communication open.
Thank you. Will do.
Councilman Hughes?
Yes, I'd like to, which is what I probably should have done when I started off, is congratulate Carl on becoming, I don't know what number the police chief you are, but I'm just going to assume that it has a number. And I also like to say this, is that I think you're well qualified for the job. My personal experience, no one asked me, but my personal experience, I think, that you're well qualified for the job. And when I was chief, I can count on my hands, those supervisors that I look forward to seeing each day during my briefings and others and back and forth. And even on my exit from the police department, I can account those same supervisors, and you were among them at the top. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate the service that the actions that I received from you, and your abilities still holds true. So I hope you don't look at any of this as a animosity towards you that I say, but that's just my way. I bring up things, I play the devil's advocate, but it's nothing beyond your capabilities. And what I would tell you this, don't chase the numbers, Carl. You're not going to ever, don't chase the numbers, and don't chase the guns. Because if you are, you can't stop them from making them. You can't stop them from selling them. You can't stop people from owning them. Fight everything else, but don't chase the numbers, and don't think that you got to get so many guns and make everybody happy. Once you get rid of the reason why people use guns, you'll reduce the violent crime. Tack that, don't tack the gun. You can waste your time doing it, but until you can control the manufacturers and the sale and the ownership, you're never going to be able to do that. But you can make a difference if you go after the causation. I think that's what the mayor was trying to bring when he says that the mental health and these issues, and that's important. So if you don't chase numbers, you can't control them. You're never going to be zero. We're never going to have a zero homicide rate in the city of Youngstown. We're never going to have this. Don't chase numbers. Don't let numbers affect your ability to do what you're doing. Keep to your programs and take your time. You jumped into a whole lot of stuff here right off the bat. And personally, you should have still been trying to move people around and look around. Don't worry about, hey, just a second more. Don't worry about thinking that you got to have something right now. Take your time and put things together, redo them, talk to as many people as you can, know the direction you're going, and then you'll be a step ahead. You'll be a lot ahead. That I'm just saying this from my experience and knowing you and everything else, you'll find the right solution to what can make this a better place to live, and reduce the crime and everything else. Don't let nobody rush you into it though. You will get it together. I do believe in you on that, and I think the most of you for it. And again, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. To the chair, through the chair.
Go ahead.
That Councilman Hughes was one of my mentors, coming up as a young policeman in the police department, and that talk that he just gave, he did that when I was a young police officer, and it had a great impact on my life. And I thank you, Councilman Hughes. Thank you very much for that, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, Carl.
Yeah.
I'm calling Carl because as
Yeah.
David says, we got to hang together.
Yeah.
No, hold up the name.
Yeah.
No. Welcome to the crazy zone.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to be pulled and pushed and prodded and everything else. You be your own person. Okay. We all come, with different ideas, but each of us is responsible for ourselves. If you do something, I said, Carl, do this. He said, well, I did it because Nita said do it. You know what? That's on you if it's a screw up. Because you're your own person. You be you. Yes, there are things that we're going to want from you, and you have to weigh them and see if you can meet our wants, but we all want different things. You want different things, but you're the chief. Everyone knows the name of the chief of police. Everyone. If they don't know it right now, they're going to know your name. And honestly, and I don't mean to, this is not disrespect, but a lot of people have never known the name of any fire chief, but they always know the name of the police chief. They always know that name, and they're going to know who to call. And once you give out your phone number, Carl, they're going to be calling you. Okay, but you just stay true to yourself. You be a decent human being, the decent person that I know that you to be. The guy who sat opposite me for all those years.
You take this.
Yeah, we've had a lot of talks. So you just be your own person, and I know you love this city as much as we love this city. And if you put this city behind your family, your family comes first, but after that, you put the city where in its place, you can never do wrong. Your role as police chief, put the city first. And you do that, you can never, ever be wrong putting the city first. You put the city first before the department, because you took an oath to the city. That was the oath that you took, was to the city, to the citizens of Youngstown. You hold true to that oath and we're good to go.
Thank you, Nita. Thank
Okay.
you so much. I appreciate that advice. Thank you so much.
Mayor, you made a good choice, Mayor. You did. Anything else from anyone?
So moved.
Thank you. So, Basha, you made a motion and Jimmy moved it. Gotcha. The meeting is adjourned and we'll see you next month. Clerk, you can just turn off